Hey, what's going on, good people? It's your girl T Hardaway,
And it's Michael Bashil.
and we are the Did It for the Hood podcast, baby.
Indeed.
We're back again on another wonderful Tuesday, and we have another distinguished guest. We have Dr. Morgan Blount, and I did say doctor. Uh, I've known this woman for quite some time, and she has had a wonderful and distinguished and just amazing career. Currently, she's working in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm trying not to mess this up. She says she's a people experience partner. I messed it up, didn't I?
No, you did
Oh,
not.
okay,
No,
perfection.
you're good.
People experience partner. She's worked in a variety of spaces, primarily around human resources, many different companies. Y'all know I don't run down people's credits because I don't want to mess them up. So, Morgan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We appreciate you being here. So we're gonna kick it off. Tell us your story.
Okay, so I am Dr. Morgan Blount. I am currently residing in Charlotte, North Carolina. I actually just moved up here this year in January from Tampa, Florida. I stayed in Tampa for 7 years, and before that, I was in Orlando. I was in Daytona in school, but born and raised in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I have had a variety of career experiences. So right after leaving the great Bethune-Cookman University, I started my career in Target as a human resources manager, and then went on to Macy's as a multi-store HR manager for about 4+ ish years. And then I spent 5 years at Citibank in the HR business partner space, as well as campus recruiting. And now, actually, after that, I moved to Charlotte to take a role at this company called Red Ventures as a people experience partner. And since then, I have actually moved into a different role, I think it was like August. Um, Still in people experience, but supporting a joint venture between Red Ventures Health and Optum, forming a new company called RVO Health, where I'm still in people experience space, but I will be leading our performance, talent, culture initiatives. But the thing I'm most excited about, which be the biggest part of my job, is to lead our diversity, equity, and inclusion function. So that will be something. Yes, I'm very excited about that. So I'll be a newer space for me to lead.
That is phenomenal. I can't spell most of those things that she's doing. So that's
Okay. Uh,
I can't spell them.
Optum.
Yes, you can.
I'm like, she's a okay, that's cool. Um, so where are you from, Morgan?
I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
You're
Born
originally
and
from
raised.
Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Okay. Born and raised.
Yes.
Okay, so you got into the human resources industry. You ran us down a large chunk of your resume.
Mhm.
Question: how
Yeah.
do you decide that you want to be in human resources?
You know what? See, I was supposed to be a lawyer from middle school up until probably junior year of college. I was supposed to be a lawyer. And I took the LSAT. I think I took the LSAT twice. I can't remember. I don't think I did as well as I wanted to. And so I'm just like, you know what? Forget law school, but I still enjoy law. So I'm like, what can I do? And now this is 21-year-old flawed thinking. So take it, take it from where it is. What can I do that kind of combines law? And I was a hospitality management major.
Mm.
So I also enjoy event planning. So I'm like, all right, what can I do to combine these things together? And then I'm like, all right, human resources. Now, was I right to a point? Yes. But
Mm.
that was not all that HR was. So what brought me there was that during school, I took an HR class and actually did an externship for a week in Atlanta, and the W is in a hotel. So the W Atlanta's HR department. And
Hmm.
so between those two, I'm just like, okay, yeah, I can do HR. But then what kind of keeps me there is, I've always had like a passion for leadership, for development. And once I got in that space and kind of understanding HR is not just about hiring and firing and all this bad stuff, you actually have the opportunity to help lead companies through people and really make an impact in a very different way.
Mm, heard that. And
Mm.
one thing I want to point out too, because you said that you just hopped off the lawyer track, but it's interesting because now you're going into the diversity, equity, and inclusion space where you're
Yes,
advocating, and
yes,
so you still have that. So I
yes.
want to know at least like how how has your career now just been? That's what I'm looking for. Um, were
Do
there
you
any unexpected, like, any more unexpected turns in your career? Would you say?
Uh, You know, I'm not going to say unexpected. I kind of let my career kind of just lead me where I'm supposed to be. So a lot of people have this just like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And I never really had that plan. Everybody asks me like, what do you, ultimately what you want to do? And sometimes the answer could be like, oh, I want to be, head of HR for a company. Do I really want to do that? Maybe, probably not. But but oh my goodness. And this is okay. And so
it's all right. We family, you good.
I know, right? And so I've fortunately been able to have a variety of experiences in my different roles. And so I've been able to really uncover passions that I didn't know were there.
Mm,
And so especially when I was working at Citi, a huge organization, once I pivoted out of retail, and you kind of get to see, all right, what does performance actually mean? What does it look like? What does it look like to talk about that with global heads of companies? What does
Mhm.
talent development actually look like, and getting people to where they want to be, and actually leading employee resources no I'm sorry employee resource groups within organizations? How does that diversity strategy, and how does representation, and what does equity actually mean, and how does that actually make a business impact? Those things actually interest me more than, okay, where do I find the best talent on the street, and how do I pay people, even though that's important. So like I've uncovered a lot of different passions throughout my experiences.
Mm. So you say those passions have driven you to your current position?
Yes.
Mm.
Yes, 100%. Because when I actually got this role in Charlotte, it looked a little bit different. It was a dual role, so I was still supporting businesses, but at the same time taking on projects.
Hmm.
But when I was in meetings and people heard me speak, and coming out with different ideas, and my logic is sound, I didn't apply for this role that I'm in now. Is like the head of HR for that, my new boss said, I have a space for you over here where I could really use your passion, your expertise, and you have the opportunity to grow and do something new, and basically start a function from scratch. Is this something that you're interested in?
Mm.
And
So
of
this
course, I said yes.
I was gonna say, based on the career path that you've had, and you tapped into a lot of your expertise, you tapped into your passion. How important do you think flexibility is when you're trying to build your career?
You have to be so flexible. The fact that I've been able to, live in Orlando. When I was in Orlando, I worked for Target, but then Macy's for 2 years. And then Macy's actually moved me over to the Tampa area. And
Hmm.
then and that's when I got to open the store. Had I not been willing to move and be flexible with what I said I wanted to do, I would have never gotten that opportunity.
Mm.
And then at Citi, what I would never even came in contact with Citi had I actually not made that move to Tampa, and being able to talk to different people and see like all these different functions, like, okay, I can try this, I can do something new, have that opportunity to build a global campus program, which really helped open my eyes to, different cultures and different ways of doing things globally. And then I would have never had the opportunity that I had now had I not just said, yes, I'll move to Charlotte without giving it
Mm.
a second thought. So not only do people need to have flexibility in where they want to do the work, but it's also what's the work that they're actually doing, and what skill sets do they actually want to develop within
Mm.
their career.
You said global campus development. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, a global campus program. So while I was in my campus role, I did that for like a year and a half. So it's like 2 full summers. I developed an internship for our I developed this program. So it was ICG operations, so institutional client group operations. And I had the internship and a full-time analyst program in, I want to say it's like 7 locations between North America, South America, Asia, and Europe.
Well, all right, we international pimping out
That's
here.
what I'm
This word.
saying.
Yeah,
I'm
listen,
like,
it's when you got the opportunity to do these things, you just have to do them. And you
Mhm.
have to do them afraid too, because I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but we gonna see how this turn out.
I
Can
say
you
it all the
get
time.
can you get into that a little bit? Just like kind of did you ever I'm pretty sure you did, but like at what moments did you feel afraid and you just went in the head and just did
Yeah.
Listen, I'm afraid now.
it? That's real.
Now.
That's real
So
life.
yeah, so one, opening the store for Macy's, that was like the first time, because I opened up that as an HR manager, that Sarasota store, UTC. And I'm just like, I don't know, I've never been in this area. Where do I find these people? Because it's a high retirement area. It's actually the second hardest hardest to hire market outside of Hawaii. How do I get this process? How do I get 100 people hired in this market and then go into fourth quarter? But somehow I did it through nights and long weekends, and
A little prayer.
oh my God,
A little prayer.
stress, all of it. But we opened the store, and it was like noted like the at that point in time like the most successful store opening in like Macy's history.
Beautiful.
What was it? That program that I built at City, it was like I know nothing about this business, but I know I enjoy campus. I did at that point. And I'm enjoying developing college students. So now it's just like, okay, well, I have people to help me figure it out, and trust me, there are enough people around me that won't let it fail. So all I have to do is listen, take feedback, and let it succeed, and don't let what I want to happen just get in the way of what actually needs to happen to make this program succeed. And then even now, I am in charge of building out that diversity strategy and our employee resource group strategy for a brand new company. So it's like, am I qualified to do this? Like,
Yeah.
why did you choose to? No, see, those are things I still battle with every day. And it's just like, you know what? I'm not perfect. This is not going to be perfect, but there's opportunity to change. There's opportunity to make a difference. There's opportunity to do things differently. But how can I influence a whole bunch of people who are very passionate about this? How can I influence a C-suite and my peers around me who may know very little about it? So, so there's a lot of things that go through my head, but it's just, it will, the nature of me, it's like, it's going to get done, whether it's perfect or not, it's not going to be. And so let's just get it done.
What they say, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. So you answer
Oh,
the call.
yeah,
So don't even worry about it. It's gonna be fine for you.
you're right.
So that's actually a good transition into because I'm gonna circle back to more about you because you have another wonderful accomplishments and interesting things in your background. But because you have worked in the campus space, I want people to get some game. One of the reasons why I wanted you to be on is because you've been in the space of hiring people. And I feel like a lot of students, particularly a lot of first gen students, don't get the game that they need because they just don't have the knowledge and they're not from the space, right? So what kind of mistakes or what kind of things should let's say a college student, someone fresh off the block, getting ready to come and try to get into the workspace, what should they be doing, or what's one of the biggest mistakes that they make?
You know what?
Break it down what's best
There's
for
a
you.
lot. Okay, so let me kind of, I'm gonna go back to me for a second and then go back to the students. So the only reason I was able to walk off the campus of Bethune-Cookman University and 2 weeks later be an HR manager of a $26 million store was because everything I did on that campus. And so, you know, I was very involved, you know, from the second I stepped on that campus, you know, freshman class secretary, sophomore class president, women's senate president. As soon as I pledged Zeta, I was the president of that, sitting on the SGA boards, and just really being involved, because what happens is you gain a lot of experiences that, even though you're not like working, you're still working. You gain a lot of experiences that you won't if you're just going to class and going to sleep, right?
Absolutely.
And so, you know, I learned how to multitask. I learned how to time manage. I learned how to deal with conflict. I learned how to influence. I learned how to not influence. I lost the SJ president election. Like you deal you deal with a lot of different things. And so what happens is I'm able to now take these experiences and talk about them in interviews. Right. So how did I get those interviews? Like, I spent a lot of time in career services and taking advantage of a lot of the resources that the school provided for us, like the career fairs, the resume workshops, whatever it was. And I took a lot of those opportunities and I interviewed every chance I got. And so because I did that, I walked out of college with 3 different professional experiences. I had an internship with Starwood Hotels in the Poconos. Like, who goes up to the mountains to do an internship?
Morgan.
Apparently, oh my God, but that's okay. I know what I will and will not do going forward. I had an externship with the W Atlanta that solidified that I did want to go into HR, and then I had an internship at Red Lobster, and you know, all those helped me boost up my resume. So now when it's time to apply for jobs coming out of school, I have my organizational experience on campus, and I have my professional experience. And so that set me up for success coming directly out of school. So now what I'm seeing, and I'm going to pick on, you said first gen, but I want to specifically pick on our HBCU students, because I am an HBCU grad. I consistently advocate for HBCUs every chance I get. But what companies may see, and what could be a frustration for them, is a lack of return on investment for the little bit of time, I'm not gonna lie, that they actually are spending on these campuses, because our students nowadays, they're not showing up.
What do you mean?
So, you know, I had that campus position during the pandemic. And so we were recruiting online. All they had to do was, you know, sign up for spots online and meet companies. And when I would go to different HBCUs, it would just be like crickets, like cricket, and we're not showing up. And it's even before then, you know, when I would spend time on different campuses, it would be like the professors are pulling teeth for students to just show up at career fairs. And I'm just like, what are you doing? And then before pandemic, even before that, like when they were showing up, I don't want to talk about our students, but they just weren't dressed appropriately.
They were ill prepared.
They're very ill prepared. And so where I'm seeing a struggle is, one is engagement with these companies, because now, more than like when we were in school, there are more companies and a lot more reputable and well-known companies spending time on HBCU campuses. Because after George Floyd, there was such a move, and there still is such a move for diverse representation, but we're not taking advantage of it. And so, like, they're literally saying, we want to hire you, but we need you to show up, right? God didn't just turn air into wine, he turned water into wine.
Right, for sure.
So like, give me something, right? Show up. And so that's one. But then I'm not sure that we are teaching interview skills as much as we used to. Interviewing best practices, for the most part, have not changed. And so many students, I'm not going to say all, because it's not all. Many students they may come to a career fair unprepared, but at the same time, they may not go to the interview as prepared as they should. And that is really putting our students behind our non-people of color counterparts, and their career projection, it impacts their financial earnings long term, because we're fortunate to go to school, but we're not taking advantage of everything that being in school can give us.
And one thing I want to point out too, because I know like my generation, we sit here like, okay, y'all are offering the opportunities, but the way that it looks is like, or the way that it can look to us at times is like, okay, we have the opportunities in front of us, but they're only doing it just so that they can save face in the midst of all of this chaos that's happening with Black and brown bodies. And so, but I hear what you're saying though, because it's just like we have the opportunity right in our face and we're not taking advantage of it. And so I feel like, in a way, it's just like we gotta get up out our pride
and get out of our own way.
Yeah, it's definitely that. And so I understand where you're coming from. And something that I've said to several people is that you can't just show up to a career fair once a year and expect to get the return that you do when you're showing up at the PWIs 6 times per semester and actually developing them, right? That's not going to work. But at the same time, I don't care why they're at this campus. If they're going to give me an opportunity, let them give me an opportunity, and then you can choose. But if we're not showing up to even take advantage of it, we're putting ourselves at disadvantage, because even if you take the role and you get into the company, which happens often, you get into the company, you say, you know what, this isn't for me. But now at least you have, something on your resume to say, I've worked for this company. Here's what I did during this time. And you can move on within a reasonable period of time after being in that role. But just saying, you know what, you're only here to get Black people. So
get the experience, because that's one thing that you was pointing out, is like just get the experience at the end of the day.
Get in the door.
Because ultimately you can get a role that could be great for your career trajectory, or you can take a role that's just like, okay, I shouldn't have taken it. But either way, you're not going to know if you don't show up.
That is 150% true. So what is something that you think we could do to contribute to, what is something that you think we could do to better prepare these students so that they can come out and be competitive? Because one of the things I'm thinking of when you're talking, I think that, like, it's just my theory, I have no proof. I think that a lot of students coming into a lot of historically Black colleges, not all, because we are not a monolith, but a lot of them don't necessarily even understand how to set up a career. I don't think a lot of them understand career planning. I don't think they understand career projection and how to begin with the end in mind, how to work backwards. Like what you just explained, coming in, okay, I'm gonna go be the president of this. I'm gonna be da. They're kind of just like making it through. A lot of students are just kind of making it through the process, and they're like, okay, I graduated. All right, now what?
Right.
So how do you think we can go back, and is it an education thing? Should we be going back to the schools? Like, what should we do?
Yes and yes. It is 100% an education thing, because going back to the first generation students, if you don't have somebody who can help you, or that has been an influence like that, I'm not sure how you do know like what are the experiences that you should be having in college. And so I would place a lot of onus on the school, but at the same time, again, you can only show up, you can only get the education if you show up, right? I would place it back on the school to say, like, what are we actually learning? To, we sat through freshman seminar, but like,
we learned the hymn.
Yeah,
you learn the hymn.
Learning in freshman seminar, right? And it should be to, here's what I think Mr. Burney did a great job of this. Yes, he was our business everything professor, right? And so it's like, why are you here? And what do you hope to accomplish? And you have to start doing that freshman year. It's like, okay, if you want to be, we have to start something like pathways or something, right? So if you want to be a politician, okay, what major is going to help you get there? What activities throughout the school will help you gain whatever skills are needed? And that's what we have to figure out, like what skills are needed to get where you want to go. What internships or opportunities should you take advantage of, either during the semester or during the summer? And like, what's your plan? Like, what's your career path, or what does the career path look like? So those are conversations that we should be having early, like it's really hard for, I feel like it's hard for even high schoolers to say, here's what I want to do. They can't start with the end in mind. Like, I went to college intending to be a lawyer. I'm an HR. Like, that it's just not going to work. But
I feel
but
that.
sometimes you just don't know, and you learn through different experiences, and that's why interning, volunteering, just working. That's why all of that is important, because my first internship, I worked at a hotel, but I worked in the sales office. So I'm just like, okay, now I know what I don't want to do, move on to something else. But I still got that experience to see the back of house hotel operations and how everything runs. And so I think those are the things that career services, professors, counselors, some way, shape, or form, mentors, alumni, those are the things that we all need to be talking about. Like, what should your college experience actually look like? You're not spending $20,000 a semester to go to class, go to the cafe, and go home.
Bro, that number just gave me anxiety, Jesus.
Nah,
Or I'm not sure if it's per semester or per year, but it's a lot.
this is per semester.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He goes to Carnegie Mellon for acting, so
Okay.
they paying a grip.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a grip. Okay, I mean, but let me also, because I always try to be even here. Let me also mention that I've gone to PWIs as well, and they're janky too. So we're not gonna harp on one and not the other. They both have their ups and downs, but they're just different in different ways. So I always try to be fair.
Yes.
But this is like something that I'm very passionate about, because at the moment I work in workforce development. I help young adults ages 18 to 24, helping them develop and enter into the workspace. And the other day, it's funny, we were talking about researching for companies, and they were appalled when we had to Google the companies and Google the people that we were about to talk to. I mean, they were appalled. They was pissed. I said, why are y'all mad? They were like, yo, we're gonna really background check this guy? I said, yeah. You're gonna figure out how to converse with them, things y'all have in common. Yeah, you're gonna do that. It almost felt like it was against some type of code. Like, you don't do that, you don't find out information. And I'm like, oh no, that's not how the professional world works. It doesn't work like that. So even trying to switch that mindset to get them on the right path of, this is how you get into success, and this is how you interact when you're going to interview, and so on and so forth. That's a lot. So I'm listening to you, and I'm like, oh, she's right, because I just had this experience last week. So yeah.
I wonder where that comes from, because honestly, we have to do research nowadays. When I'm interviewing now, I'm not interviewing now. I love the job that I have, but when I was interviewing, I looked up every interviewer's LinkedIn to make sure that, like, what connection can I have with this person while I'm having this conversation? What's happening at this company that I need to make sure that I know about. And I feel like students need to get in the habit of researching instead of shying away from it. And it's not just researching companies and researching people, but they also need to research, okay, what are the skills that I enjoy, that I have that I enjoy, and how does it translate? And then also, like, even if it's a career path, what's the likelihood that this career path will be around 10, 15 years, and what's the financial projection? Because now it's like, we can't just go to school and just major in what we want to major in because we want to major in it. No, it has to make sense, especially for all this money that we're paying.
Absolutely. That's another thing, getting into an expanding field, not something that has already hit its growth cap.
Correct.
But
or
that's
taken over by robots.
Or be what?
Be taken over by robots.
Listen, I saw this. Did you see them doing? I've seen robots doing everything. I've seen them cleaning. I've seen them doing nails. I've seen them doing everything.
Y'all thought iRobot was just a movie.
Listen, but let's not get off task. See, ADHD is just everywhere. Okay. But yes, you are you. Wait a minute, I kind of got off topic. Growth potential, yes.
Yes.
Into an industry with growth potential, but that's another thing. How do you know that until you've been in a space with somebody to tell you that?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
How do you know
like
that?
It's a cycle. It's a catch-22, but people just don't know to research, because I forgot what the name of the site is, but there's a government site that will tell you, here's a career projection of this type of role over the next 15, 20, 30 years.
Right.
It'll have X% growth over the next so many years. And as soon as I find out, I'll have to send it to you. But yeah, like
it's on Google for free.
You can Google that.
Listen, I'm a whole adult, and I'm just finding this out in this conversation.
Like what?
I'm a whole adult. Yeah.
You can Google career projection.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I didn't know about that government site though.
Yeah, I don't want to lie. I don't want to say it's government, but I feel like it is. But okay. I'll have to Google it.
Absolutely. We'll put that on our page and also share it as a resource for people that follow us, because we want y'all to get some game. We're not doing this just to be funny or just to tell people's story. We're doing this so that y'all can also get some game out of this. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna switch back to you a little bit, because I'm sure it's gonna tie back into all of this stuff. You giving me too much game. My head's starting to spin.
I'm sorry.
No, in a good way.
I know.
Dr. Morgan, we appreciate you. So let's back up to you. So you've done a variety of things. What do you actually aspire to do in your industry long term?
Long term, the goal is to work for myself. I'm still trying to figure it out. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it will be in more so the consulting. I think about coaching, but that can be draining. More so the consulting space. I'm trying to figure out the expertise, the specialty, and what do I want to offer either individuals or organizations, and like what actually would give me energy from day to day to do. So that's the ultimate goal. If I were to I think my immediate goal, which I think I'll probably hit sooner rather than later, is to actually have the title like Head of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for an organization. So I have a feeling like it may be coming. We're gonna see, but
it's coming.
If I say, yeah,
we speak those things as though they are. It's coming.
You're right.
That's boss, man. That is. I need to reevaluate my own life. I just don't know what I'm doing at this moment. I need plans.
Sometimes you just don't know, and it's just like we're all trying to figure it out. We're still young, so we all trying to figure it out.
You know what? That is the truth, because life will definitely throw you some curveballs. I definitely didn't think I'd be doing this at this moment, but God has different plans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, why did you end up you went to Johnson & Wales, correct?
I did.
What made you want to go pursue a doctorate in business administration?
Yes.
And you're part of the inaugural class, right?
I am.
Right.
What is the inaugural class?
It means first.
So this was the first. My cohort was the first cohort that went through the DBA, Doctor of Business Administration program. I was actually the first to defend my dissertation. So I'm actually like technically the first graduate of this program as well. But yeah, so actually it wasn't necessarily the school, even though it's, Johnson Wales is very well known.
Prestige,
right? Yeah. So, but it was the program. So the program, I always knew that I was at some point in time, I was going to get my doctorate. I don't know why. It's just something that I knew I needed to do. But it was the program. So it was 3 years, very reasonable for a doctorate program. One class, it is meant for working professionals, right? So one class per term, each term was 8 weeks, and the curriculum was exactly what I wanted. And the dissertation process was lockstep. So that means that you have 8 weeks, 16 weeks, whatever it is, to get this part of your dissertation done. And that's what is expected. And if you did all of that, you could finish on time. And so in all reality, that's that's what I did. So I went in, I'm like, all right, 3 years, I'm getting my life back. I'm going to learn some stuff. I'm going seriously,
I
I will learn
know.
stuff. I'm going to be able to do all these things when I'm done, and then I'll be good. But then, yeah, that's the reason I chose that program.
Mm. So was the doctorate degree, was it just a personal goal, or did you feel like it would give you more advancement in your career, or what did that fall?
Definitely a personal goal. I thought I wanted to end up in teaching in higher education. I'm not sure if that is still the goal, but I am currently an adjunct professor, so I am using it. So I do teach undergrad and master's level classes at St. Francis College online.
Mm-hmm.
So I am using the degree and getting that other source of income coming in. But long term, I'm pretty sure it will really come in handy when it comes to consulting. And I do want to research
Mm-hmm.
and keep up to speed on like what's actually happening in the workforce and in organizations.
That's phenomenal. So you've gone after a lot of high achievements. What has been your motivation through all of this?
It was always hard for me to point to something like what is the motivation. Honestly, I feel like it's more so obedience.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't ever feel like I'm doing anything so great or so phenomenal. I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And so when
Talk
and
about it.
so and so when people say it's like, oh my gosh, doing this, and I shrink back and I say, no, it's not a big of a deal or whatever. It's not because I'm trying to be humble, even though I should. It's because I genuinely feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's nothing that extraordinary, even though I'm not gonna, take that away. Like I am doing some great things. But I recently was able to be like inspired, right? And when you surround yourself around people or you even just like watch people who are doing great things, they tend to like really inspire you to even kick your game up. And so, I last year, oh my God, these years are going by so fast. So it was last year. I became involved with this organization called TOBA, Tampa Organization of Black Affairs, and they had a leadership institute, and I was able to go through it. And so when I entered into that organization, I was just surrounded around people who are doing amazing things. They are business owners, they're philanthropists, they're just leaders in different fields. And so, they actually inspire me to just do more and to be better. But ultimately, like looking even at some of the leaders of the institute, it's like, how do I have that freedom? And it's like financial freedom, freedom over my time, freedom over my schedule. In all reality, that is really the ultimate goal. But at the same time, doing just like great things in the process.
Mm. Hmm. Well, since you've been pursuing this level of greatness, what has been an obstacle that you had to overcome?
Um, Gosh, new levels have like new devils,
New
right?
devils.
New levels have new devils. And so I feel like as I went into each level of my career, there are like different things I had to overcome. Um, and it will still be. So right now, I feel like the biggest obstacle is, like I said earlier, like how do I influence an entire organization to let me
Mm.
build a whole function
Mm-hmm.
in the way I think it should be built? Um, earlier it's like, how do I actually build relationships? Like, how do I actually learn how to do my job? So like each level had a different obstacle I had to overcome. So that's really like in the workspace. But I think internally,
Mm.
one thing that I do struggle with, I'm I'm not going to call it self-confidence. I'm going to call it more of like the imposter syndrome, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even earlier I said, oh my God, am I qualified to lead entire function? I am. But it's, you know, some of those things that just like keep coming up when it's just like, okay, it's getting, my scope is getting bigger. My responsibilities are getting bigger. My exposure is getting bigger. Like, am I actually supposed to be here? And that is one thing that myself, and I'm sure a lot of other people struggle with, but that is something I do actually struggle with on a regular basis.
And I was actually having this conversation about imposter syndrome with my students a few days ago, and it's a very common thing. And all types of people go through it on different levels. Elevation brings about, you know, all these different things. Like, and when you said new levels bring new devils, it tapped me on my shoulder. It was like, oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All kinds of things start. I'm just gonna kind of give context to the audience. Like, all kinds of things start happening when you start to elevate. People start acting crazy. Things in your life start falling apart.
Like,
I mean, things just go ahead, Mike.
Like everywhere.
Yes, chaos. Things go chaotic, and you just kind of have to find that center and that space of peace to kind of hold things together. But as far as imposter syndrome, we all have it a little bit, especially a lot of Black and brown people, because we go into a lot of spaces where people don't look like us.
Exactly.
And especially as you start to elevate, you're the only brown face in the room. The higher you go, it's like the altitude gets higher and higher. You're like, oh, it's just me, huh? Oh, okay. Well, I got to represent for all of us.
And you know what? And we shouldn't feel like, and that's the thing, we should not feel like you have to like represent for all Black and brown people. But at the same time, like there's that level of, you know, authenticity that kind of, you feel like you can't have. But like, I'm not going to get anywhere trying to be someone else. And so that's kind of like the struggle. But at the same time, like, all right, I'm like, they're comfortable with me, but I'm like not necessarily completely in the in crowd. So like, how do you navigate, you know, semi being comfortable, but also at times, even me recently, I was reminded, you are still a Black girl in corporate America, and you don't get too comfortable in that.
Can you share the experience, or name? You got to use no names. You got to use no names.
No, so you know, I got very comfortable with a group of people, and so you know, when you're around your people, you kind of just like sarcasm, right? Sarcasm starts to come out. You're probably more direct than what you probably should be. And I feel like it kind of came back to bite me. It's like, oh, well, you know, you don't seem like you're open to feedback or collaborative. I'm just like, no, I kind of know what was the time and place for this, and that wasn't it. But what my bigger concern was the fact that I thought I had a relationship with this person and they couldn't come to me to talk about it. And so I'm just like,
got it.
Noted. Noted. And so the way I operate in certain spaces, you know, you kind of just have to be careful, even though like there's a decent relationship. You know, it's really hard. Sometimes it's really hard to navigate, but at the same time, I realize sometimes people don't know how to take me, because I am very direct. At the same time, I can be very sarcastic, but I know what I'm talking about. And so
I love it, but you know my personality.
Okay. Like, be as sarcastic as you want to be.
You know my personality, so I love it.
But everybody can't take that. And so it's just certain attributes stay in certain spaces.
Yeah.
Even though I won't change my authenticity, I'm just more cognizant of the space that I'm in.
It's ironic that you talk about authenticity, because especially being in like a non-diverse space, I had a story when I was when I was finishing my LLM degree. I was the only Black woman in my program, and they mixed us with JD students, so people that were still seeking their law degree. So I was doing a particular class called preservation law, where they show you how to preserve historical buildings, the laws behind it. And I had to do a little presentation. I chose Madam C.J. Walker.
Oh, okay.
Of course, I'm gonna
I
choose the
thought you were
black
gonna say
thing.
Dr. Bathoon's house, but okay.
Nah, nah, because I was up
Woman.
here. I chose
Okay.
Madam CJ. So I chose Madam CJ Walker's house, and I'm talking about her real estate and how things, all these different things. And there's another woman in the class, another black woman later on. She does another black figure. I forgot what she does. But when I met her at the graduation luncheon, she walked up to me and just out of the blue and was like, "Thank you for doing yours on a black figure. It gave me the courage to do mine on a black figure too."
Mm.
And I was just like, "Oh, I'm an HBCU grad. I'm always gonna do mine about a black figure. I don't
Okay.
care what they got to say up in here."
That's the thing. You feel?
But I didn't
Yeah.
realize, like, sometimes you shining your light gives other people the permission to shine theirs, because those spaces can be very suffocating.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
And me and Mike talk about that all the time. It can be very suffocating. But
Mm-hmm.
so you've done all these different things. You've worked in all these different places, had all these different positions. You have accolades. You got accolades on top of accolades. Okay, I've known you for a hot little minute. What have you had to sacrifice for these things? Because we know these things aren't cheap.
Mm.
It's especially early, it was really time with my family.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so precious, because I remember and this was like this was the last time I said, nope, I'm getting out of retail.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was sitting in my couch in Tampa while my family was in North Carolina at some beach house for Thanksgiving. And I'm just like, no, because my family is more important than like any job I'll ever have. And so when at some point in time, you have to come up with like non-negotiables. Like, what am I not giving up? And that was one of them. I'm not giving up. And now, if it's something that like is for me and I'm passionate about, family's gonna have to understand. But like for a job working for other people, no, there's certain things that I am not going to give up, and time with my family became one of them, especially after that Thanksgiving when I'm staying at home by myself. But that was really it. Like usually it's some sort of time with people, or time focusing on things that you don't want to really focus on just to climb. Right. And so that was really it. That was like, especially early in my career, that was probably like the biggest thing that impacted me, not being able to spend time with my family, which was it still is extremely important to me. But the rest of it, it's like, okay, like I miss a homecoming, I miss a classic. That's annoying, but but some things are just like, all right, the delayed gratification to get where you want to be. And so I'm willing to do the delayed gratification, but there's some things that are too precious to just give up.
Non-negotiables.
Yeah.
Yeah, that delayed gratification is a wonderful concept, but I think we take it to the max sometimes and forget that it's qualified by certain things.
Correct.
Certain things we will not miss. We will be present for.
Exactly. Because you just never know like what can happen. And I think the pandemic kind of showed that. Yeah, like you, and that's what people are doing now. They're prioritizing themselves and their family and where they want to live, and the type of environment that they want, because time, like, time is finite. You only have so much of it.
Yeah, we treat it like we have so much. And I think like you said, the pandemic brought it to the forefront. Like, no, you really have the present moment. That's all you have.
Correct.
So we started to reconsider how we were spending our time. So Morgan, I'm gonna switch gears again. Who are you outside of work?
I'm kind of like the same person. No. So
you do HR stuff at home?
I feel like a lot of this stuff, I don't do HR stuff.
I was gonna say, please don't do HR stuff at home.
No, I don't do HR stuff at home, but I feel like I'm very involved in the community. So I do a lot of my community work through Zeta. I'm a member, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. So I do a lot of community work through there. And then again, I told you about TOBA. So I feel like some of the work that I do is kind of like tied into tied into my work passion. So that's how I try to be involved in the community, because ultimately the goal is like to help my people, right? But then outside of that, I'm an auntie, so I have 3-year-old nephew.
That's cute.
Yeah. I like to run. I still like to learn, so I listen to audibles, I listen to podcasts. Love a good brunch.
gotta have a good brunch.
Brunch food.
Exactly. Gotta have
vibes.
Exactly. Gotta have the boundless mimosas. And what else? You know, good hookah lounge. You know, love that. Yeah. So I would do, you know, some fun things, but you know, I love serving the community, love learning, running and fitness, extremely important, and just a good time. No reality.
What is one thing that people would be surprised to know about you?
You know, people never believe me when I say this. I'm very much so an introvert.
That's a lie.
Thank you.
Pause.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
No, believe it. So I will do things like this. I will speak in front of people. I will interact. But let me tell you, this will give me energy, and then it'll drain me like all at the same time. I will, especially for long periods of time. Like if I'm in the office, oh my God, there's one day, or actually there's like a span of a week where I'm just sitting here, I'm talking to people, I'm doing focus groups, I'm doing trainings, I'm interacting outside of work. And honestly, when I get home, I just want to sit and look at a wall. Like I'm not shy, but it's just like it's just like really draining. But some things for short periods of time give me bursts of energy, but over long periods of time, like it is extremely draining for me.
I get that so much.
Yeah.
Just because I identify myself as an ambivert. I just go, I'm in between. So like I know, because it takes work to like talk to people. People don't understand that.
Yeah,
like
especially like the small talk.
Like it's draining because like I'm feeling and sensing your energy as well. So it's just like, and I know me, like I'm in the spaces full of just actors and like just performers and lighting people and designers. So it's just like I'm around just a lot of so like yes, I definitely get what you say.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna let y'all have that because I'm an extrovert, so this gives me life. Being in the house drains me to death. So I'm gonna let y'all have that. So well, Morgan, I thank you so much for giving us your time. So I want to wrap this up with, what are some pieces of advice that you would hand off to the next generation?
You know, specifically when it comes to their career journey, right? They need to figure out what gives them energy, what are the skills that they have, and how does it translate to something that could be career related. But at the same time, it doesn't always have to be 100% career related. They can make their own table and invite people to it instead of struggling to sit at somebody else's. So I would definitely
Let's count that up for the people.
First of all, me and you did the same thing at the same time, but go ahead. Let's do that.
No, so I would definitely make sure that they understand what, not the career path, but what are the skills that they have that they want to use in the future. Make sure that they do research on the fields that are growing in the future and really kind of tap into that really early, and you know, hopefully surround themselves around people that can help them do that. And then I would, and one thing that I still struggle to do is surround myself around mentors and being intentional about mentorship. And so I still have to do that. So and I think it's extremely important for the next generation to do, because everybody's not surrounded around people who just know, and that is the struggle.
And also, people are not always surrounded by people that have their best interests in heart.
That too. Yeah.
Y'all is loud
And we're not trying to be loud. We're just trying to drop gems on you.
And listen, the gems is like,
But that's real. Actually, that is a fun. That is actually 150% correct, because that mentorship, for people that don't understand, mentorship is so important because it kicks down doors or removes barriers that you don't even know are there, and it
Yes.
helps you to save time.
Yes. And you listen and you do what yes, it will save you time.
It saves you years.
Yes.
And a lot of times those people are giving you mentorship based on the mistakes they've already made.
Yep.
They're like, don't do this because this is going to turn into that. Do
Correct.
this. Along your journey, is there anything you wish you had done differently?
That was really it. Just like the mentoring.
Just the mentoring piece.
It's really just the mentoring, because I have blind spots that I did not see. And so until I was intentional about reaching out to people who I knew had my best interest at heart, to like point that out, it's like, Morgan, you have to watch this because here's how this comes off. You know, it would have still held me back from a certain perspective, because one of mine are, my face, I'm very expressive. And so so when my brain thinks something, my face just does it. And so that can come off a certain type of way, and not being really aware of it doesn't help me in the long run. So I think just really, if I were very intentional about mentoring, and surrounding myself around people who would tell me the truth all the time, you know, I think that would help my career trajectory even more.
And expedite you.
Before we wrap, what's your personal motto?
Oh, that is, you know, I think I didn't come up with this, but like I adopted this like last year, the year before. It's like, be you, the world will adjust.
Love it. Mic drop.
Yeah. Because that solely just goes back to the authenticity, because I couldn't just stop being who I was just to please other people, and eventually they understood who I was. Like, okay, that's just Morgan.
Absolutely.
That's her, but she has the best intentions at hand.
Absolutely.
Be you, the world will adjust.
And you said something during the interview. You were saying something. I can't remember exactly what you said, but I just wanted to also speak life into you and tell you that you are enough and you are great. And you are meant to be everything that you are, and that we don't shrink on this show at all. We only bring greatness on here, and you are a great person. That's why we chose you. So for sure. Again, I'm T. Hardaway.
I'm Michael Bashil.
And we are the Did It for the Hood podcast. Tune back in next week. Follow Morgan. Oh, I'm sorry, Morgan. What's your socials? I'm sorry, I messed it up. What's your socials?
Oh, you know, for now, let's just say LinkedIn, so you can follow me on.
Okay.
Morgan Blount on LinkedIn, because you know everything else is just, I talk trash on social media.
Okay, so she's somebody else.
Week, so
all right now. Okay, so I'm gonna try that again. I'm T. Hardaway.
And I'm Michael Bashil.
And we are the Did It for the Hood podcast, baby. Catch us next Tuesday, and also catch us on Wednesdays when the videos drop on YouTube. Later.